Greetings, strangers, queer and pleasant. I'm not Laura Kate Magnet Dale.
And I'm not Jane Aerith Magnet Dale. And welcome to another episode of Queer and Pleasant Strangers. It's a podcast for two queer wifey types.
Yeah,
it's us, we're the two queer trans women that are wives.
Yeah.
Talk about media we have consumed in the week and have a bit of a silly time.
Om nom nom, tasty media.
How are you doing on this day?
I'm worse than I was last week, but better than I have been in the intervening period.
Yeah.
We both had a cold. Mine is hanging around longer than yours.
Recording last week was the last day we were both good.
Yeah.
And then we kind of went through the ringer a bit. But
yes.
We've come out the other side. You know, we're doing all right.
Come out. Yeah, you're definitely doing way better. I appear to have some lingering. Oh, I'm malingering.
I've got a little lingering fatigue. I was dragging about a day behind you, and then I activated the turbo and shot through the end of the illness.
You did really
I
great.
hit the nitro button.
You've been out and stuff since then.
Yeah.
You've been living your best life again. Yeah, me, I've just been like, I got as much done as I could, and I feel like I'm full of slime. But
no.
I've eaten a lot of nutritious soup.
Yeah, soup.
And yeah, better than I was. I'm glad that I'm not trying to record a podcast while in the state that I was on, say, Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
But we did manage to play some things.
Yeah.
Tell us about a thing that you played.
I played a little bit of a lot of things.
That's good.
It's a lot of playing, like, demos and small things.
That's what we had the energy for, samples.
Yeah, I was doing a little sampling plate of things. So, let's start with... I'm gonna build up to the stuff that I enjoyed more. I'm gonna start with the quick things. I played a couple of hours of Warriors Abyss, which is...
Oh, yeah, this is the new Warriors game, but it's a Vampire Survivors.
This is just sort of Dynasty Warriors meets... Less Vampire Survivors, more Hades. It's your sort of roguelike structure, trying to make your way down through the layers of hell by fighting off lots of enemies with sort of randomized stuff you've got to come up against, and you're picking upgrades as you go to sort of build your build and hope you can get past the bosses and into the next areas. It's Hades without any of the character or personality or, like, good narrative or clarity about its upgrade mechanics or upgrade options that feel substantial.
Did you like it? I can't tell from your description there.
My thought the entire time through playing it was, there's no world in which I would ever be choosing to play this when I could be playing Hades.
Right.
Like, none of it was, like, inherently terrible.
Okay.
It controls well, it is responsive. I like that, unlike a lot of the modern Dynasty Warriors titles, it's not afraid to be a bit like anime, magical, over-the-top nonsense attacks.
Closer to your Hyrule Warriors?
Yeah, a little bit silly and exaggerated in some of the attacks that I kind of enjoyed.
Okay.
Criticisms of recent Warriors titles that, like, are not present here. All of your classic Dynasty Warriors characters have their unique weapons that they used to have back in earlier games, rather than just being sort of reduced down to, like, 3 or 4 weapon archetypes reskinned.
Right.
But, like, the problem is, the initial problem with the combat, and it's just, like, a weird design choice they made, is, much like a Dynasty Warriors, the average enemy does not pose you any threat.
Right.
The only enemies that pose you threat are you'll sometimes see a glowing pattern on the floor as an area of effect attack is about to happen, and that's the only ones that actually really matter at all.
Right.
So the entire point of the combat system is, you see the floor glowing, you dash away from where the floor's glowing. And, like, that's the whole game.
That's the whole game.
That's the whole game. And it feels very one-note. There's too many enemies at once that, like, it's not like, playing something like Hades, there's a number of enemies that is manageable enough that I can internalize what each enemy's individual attack pattern type is and learn from that and learn how to respond to unique threats and recognize them. Here, there's just so much going on that I don't see what enemy's doing what. I just see the glowing thing and I get out of the way.
Yeah, so I think that, like, looking at the trailer for it, that, I think, is what gave me the vibe of a Survivors.
Yeah, but, like, even a Survivors, like, I know enough to go, the bats will just sort of fly at me, there's the Minotaurs that are, like, really sturdy and I've got to back up from, and there's these things that fire the projectiles at me. I could not tell you what any enemy type's, like, deal is in this. It's all just kind of a blur of...
Generic stuff.
There's enemies that are not challenging to fight, and all they're serving to do is to make it hard for me to see what enemies are doing what. But, like, where with something like Hades you have, like, the interesting characters to talk to between runs, when you get your boons, like, the gods have their own unique personalities. There's none of that. And none of the upgrades you're picking feel as clear in what they're doing or as diverse in the effects they have as something... I know I keep going to Hades, but I think Hades is the example of what this gets wrong.
That's fair.
Like, if I get some kind of lightning-based upgrade for my weapon, I want to see, like... I want to see lightning arcing between enemies. I want to see, you know, I want to feel like I've committed to the path of electric attacks. And, like, half the time I pick an upgrade and it doesn't feel like anything happened.
Huh.
And, like, none of it plays badly, but none of it even comes close to the obvious contender in that category. Like, it falls short of... Like, Hades is clearly, like, the top thing in that category to compare it to, but, like, it falls really short of the personality and clarity of upgrades that we saw in, like, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Hades game that we played. Splintered Fate, yeah. Like, Splintered Fate felt like kind of knockoff Hades. This feels like a few steps below that in terms of effort made.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, none of it was bad, but the whole time I was playing, I was like, I could instead be playing... Like, I could go back to Splintered, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, I could go back to Hades 2, see if there's new stuff in that. I was just thinking about the better games in the genre that I could instead... And
you've played a decent chunk of them as well.
Yeah,
so...
this would never be the one I would pick over... Like, there's better uses of my time if I'm craving this genre.
Ooh.
This is a shame.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people online talking about it, because I was like, oh yeah... Because initially I wasn't even sure if it was being released for PC, because it looked like... Because it came up in the PlayStation State of Play.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe it's going to be, like, exclusive for a while. Found it, and read the reviews. The reviews were pretty mixed for PC. I don't know what they're like elsewhere. Yeah. But apparently there were, like, lots of crashing issues, lots of bug issues that people were having. Apparently it wasn't terribly well optimized, so it was running pretty hot. And, like, lots of sort of general small complaints, and lots of people saying, like, it absolutely wasn't worth the money that they were charging for it. Especially not with all the cosmetic shit that they threw on top of it. I think the base version of this is like 20 quid, but there's a deluxe version that's nearer 60.
Even at 20 quid, I feel hard-pressed to recommend it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which is a shame.
What else did you try?
So this one's not a bad one. It's just short demo, so there's like a limit to how much I can say about it, but it does look really promising. There's a demo on Steam currently at the time of recording this, for a game called Rufy and the Riverside.
Okay.
And the best way I saw someone describe it while I was streaming it the other day was Z-Manzilla described it as Paper Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay.
So you're playing like just a little guy who's a happy little bear, but it's...
Is this the thing that can change the material that's
Yeah. So
I saw some of this on TikTok and it looked fascinating.
Yeah, so it's Paper Mario style aesthetic. You are a 2D character running around in a 3D... Like a 3D platformer world, more akin to something like Mario 64. Like, you are collecting stars to open doors to go to new areas.
Yeah.
But the gimmick is that you can scan materials, and then you have a limited amount of time to apply that material to something else in the world.
Yeah.
The example, like some of the early examples, I'm falling from a high height, I can scan these vines and throw that at the waterfall, and now the waterfall's made of vines, and I can leap over and climb up the vines to get up to safety.
Okay.
There's a bunch of metal boxes in front of me, and I can't destroy them to clear the way, but I can go find some wood, scan that, apply wood to the boxes. Now they're wooden boxes, and I can punch them to break through them. And it is a mix of, like, puzzle-solving exploration mixed with, like, traditional 3D platforming. But unlike something like... Because initially I wanted to compare this to, like, Mario 64. And it's less like... You know how in Mario 64 you jump into a painting and it's like... You're jumping into this sandbox, but you're trying to do one specific set thing this time you've jumped into it. This is more... Here
Ukulele?
is a... no. It's... Here is a somewhat linear sandbox, and, like, getting to the end of the 3D platforming level will probably give you one of the stars. But along the way there are diversions and secrets and things to get more stars. Okay. So you're sort of, like, looking for things to do along the road to pick up extra stars to have enough to go into new doors and find new places. And yeah, the demo is, like, it's pretty short, but it's charming as hell. The scanning mechanic works really nicely. It is a simple enough, unique mechanic.
Yeah.
That it's, like, it's very easy to get your head around. And the 2D character in 3D space controls way better than I expected them to. Feels way better interacting in that 3D world than expected.
Yeah.
Well worth checking out the demo, even if the demo is pretty limited in what you can see.
Yeah, and I guess you kind of have to hope that they can pull that off to something bigger.
Yeah, but, like, all of the elements of it are very promising, and it's definitely on my radar.
Yeah, the clip I saw was somebody being, like, told, you're going to have to get up to the top of that cliff. Yeah. And it was like, okay, well, there's a waterfall come rolling down the cliff, so I scan the vines, turn the waterfall into vines, and I climb up there. And then there was another bit from, like, a castle, and they're like, we need a bridge to get into the castle and get over the moat. It's like, okay, well, I could scan this tree and make a bridge out of wood. I don't really like the wood one. I'm going to scan the castle itself, which is made of stone, and then I'm going to make the wooden bridge into a stone bridge.
Yeah.
So it matches the aesthetic.
I like that there's multiple ways to solve some of these problems, and that it's just about...
slightly Scribblenauts vibes.
Yeah. What is within, like, 15 seconds of running from here that that might be a solution?
Yeah, and I guess you can, like, hide stuff.
Yeah.
And make that more interesting.
That sort of short amount of time that you can hold on to an element before you have to throw it at something means that you're never, like, scouring, like, minutes back in the level to find the thing you need, and I appreciate that.
And if you do go back, you might find something anyway.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the thing you played, or shall I keep talking through
keep talking. I've only played one thing this week, really.
Okay. Another one that I don't have a huge amount to say about, other than to say... I'm glad that this thing I love is getting more stuff to do. I went back into Astrobot.
Oh, yeah, it's got a bunch of new levels, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Is this for everything? I heard this was a PS5 Pro patch that was happening.
This is just new for anyone on PlayStation gets this. They might have updated how it performs on PS5 Pro, but, like, the new content's not Pro
I think
specific.
I saw the announcement was linked into the PS5 Pro thing, so I've kind of conflated that a little bit in my head.
Yeah, so they've been adding new content every now and then for a while. Like, I was aware of some of it. Like, they'd been adding some speedrun levels at some point. Ooh. And apparently, like, over the holidays, they added a big winter-themed level, and then they started another batch of speedrunning levels. So I jumped back in, and there was, like, 3 hours of additional content I hadn't previously seen, which, considering, like, the base game's, like, 20 hours long, that's like a seventh of the game extra they added in, and that was pretty cool. I like the speedrunning levels. They're not so challenging that, like, the average person isn't going to be able to get both of the unlockable characters from them. It's like, you've just got to do a little bit of corner cutting and a little bit of optimization, but it's not so bad. The one I really liked was the winter level. The winter level was this interesting sandbox where basically all of the power-ups from the rest of the base game were dotted about this one big hub area. And it was a good excuse to go back and revisit all of those things. And, like, every power-up was going to get you to at least one unique area with a batch of little collectibles that felt like one very robust... Like, the theming was very solid, but it was just a good excuse to go back to all of the mechanics that maybe you were kind of itching for a bit more of from the base game. Astrobot, I'm glad that, like, a single-player, 20-hour game with no paid DLC, no paid cosmetics, no paid little bits and bobs, is just continuing to add more game to one of my favourite games of last year just because.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm a bit torn. Obviously, yes, I love that there is more thing for the thing, but also I just feel weird about this whole thing of modern games and continuous development forever.
Possibly. The impression I get with Astrobot is it's a degree of we might the game reviewed way better than expected, and we're not going to be able to have a new one turned around.
Yeah.
But we do want to capitalize on the fact that it got a bunch of Game of the Year awards, and we want people to have an excuse to be people to be back in playing while new people are jumping in. I'm I think this is a reasonable one. I think.
Yeah.
I think there are all small enough levels made out of existing assets put together in new ways that it's I don't imagine this is a nightmarish amount of additional work to be doing.
And I'm glad they didn't immediately just fire the devs post-launch, as is so often these days.
Yeah. So other things. Let's get on to some of the demo bits I played.
Yes.
Like Your Dragon, Yakuza, Pirates in Hawaii, whatever the name is, those words in some order.
I think it's just Like a Dragon Pirates, isn't it?
Like a Dragon, Pirates, Yakuza, Pirates in Hawaii. Pirates in Hawaii is definitely part of it, but Yakuza's also part of it. I've lost track of the name. The new Yakuza where you play as Majima in Hawaii on a pirate ship.
Yakuza.
That'll be out on the Friday of the week we record this.
Oh, wow.
And it's reviewing pretty well, which I'm excited to see. I'm excited to jump into that on Friday. But there was a demo for it, and I jumped into the demo, and very quick impressions on this. I enjoy playing as Majima a lot. His fighting style is fucking nonsensical.
Excellent.
And I love it. It kind of reminds me of when playing The Man Who Erased His Name, the last spin-off for Kiryu, where for no really solidly explained reason, he suddenly had cool spy gadgets he could use to and shoes with rocket jets in them to skate around It's that level of don't worry about why, but we're going to do goofy shit.
Well, you just want our game to be cool.
Yeah, and my favourite thing of the combat in this is you can get Majima to pull out a musical instrument and summon ghost animals to help him in combat.
I mean, it's no crazier than calling people up on a text service to come and be your GMs.
In the demo, you could play the violin to summon ghost sharks, and that was very cool.
Cool.
I enjoyed the pirate ship combat quite a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty into the idea that this game seems to be built around go recruit a bunch of people who, when you do your pirate ship combat, they will be your pirate crew.
Excellent.
And the pirate ship combat, it's got a couple of goofy little things to it that are to make it feel a bit more arcadey than some other pirate games have felt. You have a boost button on your 18th century pirate ship.
Excellent.
And
as one should.
A degree of lock-on targeting, and if you go out of the view where you're captaining the ship, you can just pull out a rocket launcher and just fire at the other person's ship with a rocket launcher from the deck.
That's modern pirates, baby.
Yeah, it's good and goofy, but when you take the other ship's health down, you and your crew all board the other pirate ship, and you have a 30-on-30 melee fight.
Uh-huh.
And it seems like recruiting a bunch of people to your pirate crew so that you can do big army-on-army battles is kind of the gimmick, and I enjoy the chaos of it.
Is this kind of... there was an Assassin's Creed that everyone loved. Was
Black Flag? Yeah, so it's Black Flag if it was bigger, slightly more arcadey, and with the combat feeling a bit more like you were bringing your team of characters to a Dynasty Warriors fight.
Okay.
It's exaggerated, goofy, high anime, army against army combat.
And it's still got karaoke in it?
It's still got karaoke in it. The demo, everything seems like what I want out of Yakuza, which is a little bit serious, a little bit silly, way more combats, way more gameplay systems that it feels like a game should be able to fit inside of itself, while still feeling polished and not janky, which is nice. I'm looking forward to jumping into that in some depth. Nearly done on the list. So, I played some of the open beta that's currently going on for Monster Hunter Wilds, and my takeaway from that is it sure is more Monster Hunter.
Well, that's good, because you like Monster Hunter.
Yeah. I have so little to say about it, because every time I play a new Monster Hunter, I go, yep, this sure feels exactly like Monster Hunter.
It sure is a game that's less innovative than Pokemon.
I mean, I'm now riding a chocobo rather than riding on the back of a wolf, and I'm, in one.
You mean you've lost your dog and cat friend?
I still
feels like a
still got the
definite
cat
step
friend.
down.
You got the cat friend still, but you now have a chocobo friend, and maybe the environments feel bigger, and there's more of a focus on weather effects happening, like weather effects that can.
Are they happening?
You have to weather effects that you have to be sort of prepared for during combat. Monster Hunter really is one of those series, if you've not historically enjoyed, this one's not going to change your mind.
Yeah.
If you've enjoyed previous ones, are you in the mood for, and do you currently have time for, the time commitment that is a new one of these? And honestly, I think my answer would have been yes, if this had been on Switch, like Monster Hunter Rise was.
Right.
I don't know if I want to play this on console. Like, if I could play this on a handheld, I would probably be really into it. If it comes, if when the Switch 2 launches later this year, it gets a port of this, I will probably play the shit out of it. It doesn't run well on Steam Deck, apparently, which is like, ugh. Yeah, if it had run well on Steam Deck, that might have been the answer. I might have to see if it runs well on, say, the ROG or the Lenovo. If it runs alright on one of those, maybe, but, I don't know if I want this level of, if I'm going to get into a Monster Hunter, I'm going to pour a lot of time into it, and I want it to be something I can be playing while watching TV.
Yeah.
Rather than, I have to monopolize a screen for this. And that's how I've always felt about the series, and this hasn't really changed my mind on that. Last one before the one that we've both played. I played about 6 hours of Elden Ring Night Rain.
You sure did.
I sure did. This was had a closed beta weekend over the weekend, and I, as someone that very much enjoys Elden Ring and From Software's other games like Dark Souls, I was very curious about this one. This is what if Elden Ring was Fortnite.
Yeah.
What if Elden Ring was Fortnite?
That would be my takeaway from having watched you play it.
And I there's a little more to it. So, for anyone that's played Elden Ring, here is the series of changes I'm going to describe to try and explain what this game feels like. Everything is turned up. It is a turbo mode. You run faster, your stamina doesn't get used up in more situations, you can parkour up walls, you can leap up walls.
There's no fall damage?
There's no fall damage. You're not painstakingly deciding what levels to build your character out with. You pick one of 4 starting characters, and every time you have enough levels to level up, there's one option, level up. It'll pump the stats up for you.
Yeah, rather than characters, you've got sort of just archetypes.
Yeah.
Do a thing.
Yeah, you have, the general all-rounder knight with a sword and shield. You have the guardian that has a sort of big pole arm.
Yeah.
You've got the sort of sneaky assassin with the little knives, and you've got the spellcaster, and each of them, there's no reason you can't give them other classes' weapons, and there's no downsides to that, really. Right. The real reason you're picking these characters is for their 2 special abilities, which will be things like, for the little assassin one, every 7 seconds or so your cooldown for this will finish. You can replay the last 1.5 seconds of damage that the party dealt to enemies. So, if someone manages to, land their ultimate in a huge attack and do a big spike of damage to a boss, you can re-pop that and do that same hit of damage again. You can replay that damage, and they can make themselves and the party invisible, which helps for... If you run out of health, you're not necessarily dead. Your party members can run over and hit you with their weapons to get you back up.
That has been entertaining me.
Yeah, sort of, oh no, my friend's down, better heal them with
I'll
my sword.
I'll murder you back to life.
Yeah, and being invisible helps with that. You've got, like, for the Guardian, you can sort of do this big gust of wind that knocks enemies up into the air to give everyone a second to refresh, or you can leap into the air and do a big strike down on them. These are realistically the abilities you're picking these characters for. Yeah. And yeah, as I say, you are just sort of grabbing things and running. There is a Fortnite-style circle that is shrinking.
Yeah.
That over the course of this match will force you towards a central location where a, like, end of the day boss fight is happening. Right. And there's, like, 3 in-game days. Each of the first 2 days, the full map is open and it slowly shrinks and you fight a big boss. Opens up again, slowly shrinks, you fight a big boss. Third day, you just fight a really big boss in an arena. So you're trying to use those first 2 days to just, as quickly as you can, fight things, get experience, ideally beat bosses, because they will, on top of experience, give you, a list of I'm going Hades again. Hades style, like, where your big boons to choose from that give you might be permanent upgrades, like higher health, faster health recovery. Sometimes it'd be really cool shit, like now I've got floating glowing swords that'll auto-target enemies.
Yeah, you did.
Those were pretty cool. And you're basically just trying to grab as much stuff and do as much as you can while outrunning the encroaching circle that's bringing you and 2 other people together. To really hammer home that sort of, like, arcade aspect of it, they've done away with things like there's no equip load, so you're not, like, having a slower roll if you pick up too many heavy things. You instead just have a limited number of slots. You can be holding X number of things at once, but whatever they are, it's not going to slow you down. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, like, actively using a thing you pick up, most things you pick up will have secondary effects that will just permanently be active.
Nice.
So you're constantly, like, anytime you see a thing on the floor, you might as well look at it to go, even if I don't use it, does that grant me, like, increased bleed damage or something? And that just by being in my pockets, that weapon will do me benefits. And it's like, it's basically 45 minutes to an hour of get thrown in, just do a highly concentrated batch of Elden Ring, get out.
Yeah, so the traversal doesn't require really any of the typical Elden Ring stuff, but as soon as you're thrown into a fight, you will need to know your distancing and all of that sort of typical boss fight stuff from that.
It's one of those things where, like, Elden Ring is a game, much like most of the Souls games, that I would recommend playing, like, take your time, keep your distance, don't attack until you are, like, certain you have a safe opening to do so. Be, like, really methodical and careful about the way you fight these bosses. There's no rush to it. But because of this shrinking circle and the sort of time limit that's imposed, this is instead, there is no time. Just kind of get in there and get fighting. Don't be too cautious. Rely on the fact you have your little teammates around you. They can get you back up if needed. Overwhelm these enemies with the fact that there's multiple of you to be, like, fighting over where the focus is.
Yeah.
There is not time to be cautious. You have to just get in there and play good Elden Ring quickly.
Yeah.
And I really dig it.
How do you think this is going to affect you going back to playing regular Elden Ring and other Soulsborne games?
It's interesting, because, like, honestly, this leans into the way that I like playing Elden Ring, which is
massively underleveled.
I mean, more in terms of, I like playing with other people or things drawing aggro. I am not one of those people that's like, you can't use summons and the mimic tier and then, summon other players in.
Boo that person,
gets rid of the true Soulsborne experience. No, fuck off. The stuff is there. It's there to be used. I loved playing through the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC last year. I beat the final boss of that with the Mimic tier, which is like a little ditto blob that becomes a copy of yourself, plus 2 summoned-in people from Twitch chat.
Yeah.
So essentially 4 of us in there being like, yeah, you take some aggro together, we'll do this. That's how I like playing these kind of games.
Yeah.
And this leans into, that is inherently the vibe. The vibe. It is, you aren't supposed to do this alone. Get friends, get in there. And I like that a lot.
Go on an adventure together.
Yeah. And, I don't think this is going to stop me enjoying, traditional Souls games by any
Yeah, I
means.
just wondered if it might make the way you approach it a little bit different by virtue of the fact that you've maybe will have had time to get used to playing at a slightly different pace.
I think, much like any time I swap from one Soulsy game to another, there will be a period of adjustment where things that are good practice in one will, I'll start playing Elden Ring 2 or whatever and get my ass handed to me and I'll quickly go, this isn't working. There is always because, even as much as, going between something last year I played both Elden Ring and Lies of P, the sort of Pinocchio, Soulsborne.
Yeah.
And, one of those really incentivized dodging, whereas the other really incentivized blocking. And even going back and forth between those in quick succession, I was getting myself killed because I was doing the playstyle from one and it was just not working in the other. I think it's going to be a similar kind of back and forth experience to that. I don't think it's going to be a negative detriment long term, but swapping back and forth, there's going to be having to remind myself, I can take my time in these again.
Nice.
Yeah, do you want to talk about the one that we've both played this week?
Sure, I was going to say, there's no voice chat in this Elden Ring thing.
No.
Which I think is good, because hopefully that will avoid any possible toxicity.
Yes.
But also, you mentioned the fact that it doesn't really matter which archetype you pick at the beginning beyond their special ability. So you're not going to have people getting grumpy about the team composition, necessarily.
It's not too bad. I've had runs that made it to day 3 where, two of the team picked the same character. It's not a huge problem.
Can you see that on your screen when you're picking?
You can, yeah. You can see what the other people are playing, and, I've had times where I picked a character and then someone locked in the same character after and I didn't have a chance to back out and go, oh, actually, I'll play and be someone else then. It didn't make a big difference. If the person knows how to play that character, it's probably better than them forcing themselves to arbitrarily be a character they're worse at. But yeah.
Okay, now I will talk about the game we both played.
Tell me about the thing we both played.
Well, sometimes you want a video game that you can play one-handed. And this is that. This appeared initially on my radar at the Accessibility Summer Showcase 2024.
Yeah, this was the game we closed out the showcase with.
Yeah, and now it's out.
It's Dawnfolk.
Yeah, it's Dawnfolk. Obviously you have to disclaim that.
Disclaimers, caveats. I pointed at this game and said it's doing cool accessibility stuff, and now it's out.
And I watched you playing it and went, oh, that's more interesting than the Summer Showcase trailer gave it credit. I already had it on my wish list, but when I watched you play it, I was like, actually, I think from just looking at the trailer and going, I don't really know what this is. It looks cute.
Yeah.
And I'm up for a single a city builder that's got slightly roguelite vibes to it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because rather than being hex based or a wide sprawling landscape, it's a series of square tiles that will have a specific biome type. So it might be sea, it might be plains, it might be desert.
Yeah.
Then you'll have modifiers to that. Does it have something growing on it? Does it have something grazing on it?
Yeah.
Are there potential enemies, potential friends?
Yeah.
Are there mountains? Okay, so you can build housing for people. You can build places to grow crops. You can build farms that will connect and get bonuses from adjacent crops. You'll have churches which gain bonuses from adjacent houses or or tents. You can build desert tents adjacent to caravansaries.
Yep.
And lots of little interactive little systems, and occasionally you'll just be... The whole principle is that you can't see very far beyond your little area.
Yes.
Everything else is sort of dark, and the whole principle is that you are finding sources of light energy to shed light on more places so that you can explore and basically make all your good numbers go up.
Yeah.
Your people, your light, your supplies, your food, and your science.
Yeah.
But periodically you're going to be attacked by this evil dark storm. Mystery. What is that all about? I've got some suspicions, but obviously no spoilers. And yeah, like you can run through a level of this in, I want to say, about 20 minutes. You can hang out for longer. Like you finish like the basic mission of the level, and it's like, hey, you can hang out here and do some more bits if you want.
It's a little bit like something like Dwarf Romantic, in that you finish your objective, and it's like, do you want to just keep building that little thing you were building?
Yeah.
But like, the thing I enjoy about it is that it is level based. It is, we're going to drop you into this like 10 by 10 grid or whatever it is of unexplored tiles, and you know, you've got clear objectives and a little narrative happening of like, oh well, we're trying to go and find all the little orc camps, or we're trying to do this, or trying to do that, and being interrupted by the storms as you try and expand. But then you complete your objective, and it's like, yeah, you've done the things you needed to do here. If you go to the pause menu, there are secret objectives of like extra things you could do for rewards, but like, you then put that away, and you go to a new biome, and you start city building again under new constraints. Like, there's new terrain tiles, new layouts of those things, new objectives, so that, like, you're never sprawling so big that you're doing, like, a Satisfactory or Factorio level massive thing you're trying to balance. It never grows too big before it goes, cool, here's a fresh thing to play around with.
It's closer to something like Beyond the Storm.
Yeah.
Against the Storm. Yeah, it's closer to something like that, in that you're playing shorter sessions of smaller city building with a limited number of tools. And the difficulty comes from, and the variety comes from, like, how the level is set up. What percentage of land versus sea is there, because I've just got to the archipelago level.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, there's 3 spots of land, and you're going to have to generate food for your peoples.
Yeah, it's each level you go to is a puzzle in and of itself.
Yeah.
It's, what are you going to do with the constraints this is facing you with, and the limitation. Like, usually it's, this is going to limit one of your production types. How are you going to handle that?
Yeah, like the last level I did was, you're constantly having to send food back to your capital city, and you've got very little good usable ground, and you don't want to spend a lot of time building housing, because housing is going to require food.
Yes.
And then working like other ways around it is like, okay, horses give me people. I guess they're horse people. So I want to make sure there's lots of green space around the horses, because as soon as the horses become happy in their little horse pasture,
you get free horses.
You get free horses in an adjacent empty, like plains space, which you can then build a pasture around to get even more people income.
Yeah.
And it's like little things like that, little like extra difficulties. And this was like constantly like, I need food to keep sending stuff out, so I need to make the cows breed as well, because the cows are giving me loads of food stuff.
Yeah.
The horses are giving me loads of stuff. And then just like randomly finding swamps and zombies and witches for the first time. Again, I won't spoil it, but there was some like fun little story beats in that level. But it just made me go, that's fun.
And it's all mixed in with these like completely optional, you can turn them off, these little mini games for like the various activities of like chopping down trees or hunting for creatures or kissing orcs.
Do you get bonuses? Do you still get the bonuses that you can get for completing the minigames?
My understanding is if you turn off the minigames, it treats it as if you automatically succeeded, like you got the best score you could have on the minigame.
Yeah.
You get the full bonus.
Thus far I've only been playing with the minigames on.
Yes.
But there's a couple that I do struggle a little bit with, and it's just like, you know what, if I could turn that off, maybe I could.
I believe there's no punishment, you get full marks while turning the minigames off.
Nice. That is good to know. And it can all be played one-handed, so like, I've mostly played it with WASD spaced.
You can also play it with just a mouse.
I've seen that. I'm not entirely sure how that would work for everything, but I'm sure that would all be explained in the instructions. But yeah, like, it's pretty clear about like how easy it is to play, and I've enjoyed that so far.
Yeah, it's largely just WASD and spacebar opens menu.
Yeah.
That's it, really.
Down exits a menu.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can also use the cursor keys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun little city builder, and it's very sweet, and there is an overarching plot, and mysteries. Ooh, mysteries.
Ooh.
Have you played anything else?
No, that's about it for me.
Well then.
Time for this.
Hey Laura.
Yes?
We've got a new sponsor.
Who's our new sponsor?
Well, does a corporation owe you money for services rendered?
Funnily enough, yes.
Well, try this week's sponsor, robingood.lol.net.
Ooh, tell me more.
Their free service will send undercover operatives to retrieve what you're owed for the simple satisfaction of upsetting a CEO.
Oh, we're just gonna go in and steal some stuff.
No, they're gonna get you exactly what you're owed.
Oh.
Yeah, imagine hijacking a plane and taking it to its intended destination. It's like that. You're just taking what you're owed from the company, you're receiving the money you're owed, and nothing more than that.
Well, this feels more like you're on a plane that isn't that the pilot's gone, I've decided I'm not going to take you to your destination.
We don't have any staff today. We've decided.
No,
we have made you pay for your ticket, but
we're in the air. But we've decided we're just going to fly around in circles and land back where we started. So then you decide to hijack the plane to take it where it was meant to go.
Yeah,
I guess
you're sending the money from the company to its intended destination.
You are doing a hijacking to take a thing exactly where it was supposed to go, rather than have it sort of stay stationary.
90 days, 180 days, 365 days, 720 days, 6, 10, 80 days. In your nose bone days. I kind of lost the metaphor somewhere. Anyway, there's robingood.lol.net. Enter the code Q&PS. Where's my fucking money? And you too can get your fucking money from people that just owe you the fucking money and keep being like, you're a freelancer.
Give me my fucking money.
That's okay. We'll pay you in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 100 bajillion months.
That's all well good, but my rent's due now.
No. Welcome to the home of the future. We've got smart devices for all over your home. Try this new smart rug.
What does it do?
It'll judge your weight. It'll tell you how your weight do.
Oh, don't like that.
How about this table? It'll detect if you've got your elbows on the table and tell you off. If you've got your smartphone that you're looking at the table, it will tell you off.
I'm not sure I'm a fan of that.
How about this smart toilet? It judges your aim if you've got a directional jet, or chastises you for skid marks.
I don't want my house to judge me.
Your toilet's going to judge you. It's got bidet eye. So, what have you put in your ears?
I saw some live music.
You did?
And I'm going to specifically talk about a cool 9-person band I saw called the Ogretones.
I was going to say, is this the one you're wearing the t-shirt off right?
I am indeed wearing the Ogretones t-shirt. This is a 9-person band themed around the music of the Shrek movie series. Yes. The Shrek movies have had a lot of bits of cool music from pop culture.
It's true, which have become iconic in their way.
What if a 9-person band was playing music from all those films?
This wasn't the Ska Band, was it?
This was the Ska Band. Yeah.
Cool.
They are a very talented band. They have some very talented musicians taking the art of playing these songs very seriously. They have 2 singers, and I want to particularly give credit to their female singer dressed as Fiona, who absolutely fucking nailed some of the, 70s and 80s women-led rock tracks that have turned up in the Shrek films, like your sort of covers of stuff like Barracuda, for example. Like, absolutely, she's got a great fucking rock voice on her.
Yeah.
There was maybe the happiest drummer I've ever seen. So often when I watch bands play live, I'll see drummers, and I get it, I've been a drummer, I've been this person, doing the very stoic, serious, focused, I have to be on rhythm, I have to be precise, face.
I'm not angry, I'm just counting.
Yeah, the I'm counting and ignoring everything else. I'm very busy face.
Yeah.
This is maybe the only time I've ever seen a drummer quite as, like, genuinely having a laugh at the fact he's here in this nonsensical band. Like, here's the mark of a good drummer is not only when you see them having a laugh behind the kit, but when the drummer is, like, visibly, like, 20 years older than anyone else on stage. It's like, oh, this has real vibes of that guy that your granddad knew. That's like, nah, yeah, fucking got it, here we go. Fucking, I loved his energy. He was wonderful.
Excellent.
They had 3 brass musicians who were dressed as the 3 blind mice.
Aww.
Which was like, okay, that's a cool thing for a trio. They had more than 3 brass instruments. Some of them had multiple they were swapping between. Like, there was a tuba.
Impressive.
Which I'm always surprised by how big they are in person.
Yeah, I had a friend who's a tuba player, and those things are fucking huge.
They had 2 cross-the-body straps to, like, hold up some of the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a harmonica player / pianist, multiple guitarists.
So what you're saying is 9 might not have been enough.
It's the thing that, like, I went into this expecting silly, goofy gimmick band.
Yeah, because you sold this to me as I'm going to a Shrek rave.
Yeah, and I did indeed go. That is what I went to, but there was also live music, and this band was like nearly 2 hours. Their set of just really full on good tracks,
yeah,
and like consistently very high energy, very high paced. They had very good control of, like, their set list design. Mm-hmm. This is me just, like, being a music nerd about this. You could watch and see the fact that, like, they've clearly thought through if one particular song is going to be, like, very heavy going for one of the instrument groups, the songs either side of it are going to be quite easy for that instrument group.
Right.
To, like, very calculatedly spread out where the effort is being spent across the stage.
Yeah.
And that was, like, the kind of details I just fucking love seeing in a band where I'm like, oh, you've thought this through.
Yeah.
I've never seen a band try... How do I put this?
How do you put
I
this?
have been and seen a lot of metal bands that have tried to do something called a wall of death in their shows, where, like, the entire audience splits down the middle, separates apart, and then when the drop happens, everyone, like, clashes in and, like, sort of mosh pits into each other as the crowd comes back together.
Right.
I saw not a wall of death. I guess I would call it a wall of love. Split is if you're doing a wall of death, and then the cue was when the music, like, kicks in. Slowly move back towards each other, doing the sexiest dance, locking eyes at the person opposite you that is possible. Just slowly, sexy dance back toward each other. They fucking knew how to work a crowd. They knew how to have that crowd in the palm of their hands. Some of the best use of how to play, like, how to work an encore that I've seen, which is, if you think of music from Shrek, first thing you think of, Smash Mouth.
True.
Yep. There are 2 big Smash Mouth tracks. End of the set. we're all done. Lights go off. Neither of the Smash Mouth tracks have been played. It's like, they didn't even leave the stage before people started chanting, Smash Mouth, Smash Mouth. Because it's very clear, like, there's no missing that's what they're going to end on. And I'm like, you fucking know your audience and how to play them like a fiddle.
Excellent.
And, like, I fucking loved it. It was great. It was just really nice musicianship to enjoy.
I mean, not just the Ogretones. Like, you told me, like, what the breakdown of that day was, and I was like, that sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah.
If I hadn't felt like absolute shit garbage, I'd probably have tried to get myself a ticket.
Yeah, the Ogretones is, like, the one I would recommend as, like, the big takeaway from the day. If you
I don't know, Shrek drum and bass sounds pretty fucking cool too.
But yeah, if you get a chance to see the Ogretones live, they put on a damn good show.
They give good show.
I would recommend. What about you? What you put in your ears this week?
I have laid in bed and listened to audio dramas. That's what happened to me. So I finally got round to finishing Doctor Who Time War.
Ooh.
So I got the first box set with volumes 1 to 4 in it. and I finally listened to Volume 4, having accidentally re-listened to 3.4, I think it was again, the Valeyard story, which is about an alternative future Doctor, but not the usual version of that alternative future Doctor, who's trapped in a time loop, but he thinks he's a good guy, rather than the Valeyard is usually a bad guy who's constantly trying to kill the Doctor. So, there's that. So it was an alternative of a character I didn't even know before, and had to, like, look it up a bit to try and understand why it was so unusual. But there we go, there was that. And then I started listening to the War Doctor series from Big Finish, which is John Hurt's War Doctor, which kind of appeared as a character in, like, one and a tiny bit episodes from the 50th anniversary. So, yeah, it was interesting, because I wasn't really sure what to expect from him, because I know at the point that John Hurt was recording this, he'd obviously, he was an older guy. He was clearly trying to play someone a bit exhausted anyway, so it was going to be like a much lower energy, and like even Paul McGann, who tends to be more of a cerebral Doctor anyway, has still had like quite a lot of action-heavy stories. But yeah, you can tell that this Doctor, sorry, not the Doctor, this Renegade, Prisoner 101 at one point as well, he feels like he's given up on everything that made him the Doctor. Essentially, who he has always been, or who they have always been, even, to someone who has to fight in this time war for the sake of all the people that he's always tried to protect previously. And now he's like, well, you know what? I previously said I wouldn't genocide the Daleks if I got the when I had the chance. Now, who fucking knows? But mostly, there is still a lot of the Doctor we know and love in there of, I really do want to save people, but I am going to be a grumpy fucker about it. And I'm also still not going to take any shit from the Time Lords. There's a really interesting story in, I think it's War Doctor Part 1, or Volume 1, where the story is there's this planet which is encountered in like a couple of different time periods. The Doctor initially just sort of crashes there after trying to save somebody's life. And then ends up like 50 years in the future, where the aliens that he built as shields, or helped design as shields to protect the peaceful people living on this planet, that shield's been breached by this evil species, who are now just like lackeying for the Daleks, and they're also sort of stuck in this null space. And the concept is there is a Time Lord trying to do peace talks with the Daleks in the hopes of, just trying to bring him about an end to the Time War, which is all very good, but very clearly the plan the Daleks are going for is we're going to drill into all these planets, and we're going to destroy all life on all of those 1,000 planets.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's they're going to make them, they're going to put engines in them and turn them into spaceships, and it'll be for the administration of the world. I'm not going to spoil it, but that's almost certainly not what's going to happen. And it's an interesting juxtaposition of the Doctor, who would always have previously been the one to like try and make peace and believe the best in people and try and do things, to just like, no, I know the fucking Daleks, you can't make peace with them. You're an idiot.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to go, I know they're saying
the Nazi.
I know that they're saying they're reformed and that they're saying they're doing good this time, but I see the fucking swastika on their arm, and right. I'm going to beat their ass.
Right?
It's yeah.
So that was a really interesting. There's been a couple of really interesting stories in this, and it's been interesting here, like a lower energy Doctor who just feels like he's fucking done with a lot of things. Like he's taken prisoner by the Time Lords at one point. And the whole story is like he's attached to this leash where if he gets too far away from them, it basically like sucks his life force out. And there's like this Time Lord Cardinal who's basically trying to like keep him like a pet more than anything. It's like, I know you'll be smart enough to work this out and be able to do this really dangerous thing and fix this and that and the other and solve this puzzle. even though like I've had to like keep you full on prisoner and treat you like absolute shit, and she's very much got that like Time Lord arrogance of like, we always knew we could control you if we had to, Doctor. We'll do whatever it takes, and there is a lot of whatever it takes in this Time War. Like we had an episode with I can't remember the guy's name. He played the MCP in Tron. He's got a great voice for radio stuff. He plays like this, basically a space wizard. This planet, they have the Horned Ones, some sort of demonic creature that exists outside of time, that allows them to perform basically magic in a way that even Time Lords can't explain, and they know basically fucking everything. And they are taking Time Lord corpses to this planet for these people to resurrect them so they can be sent back to the front lines. And all the problems that come along with that. Because that episode starts with, the Doctor's gone after this sort of super weapon. He's like, nobody needs this super weapon. I'm destroying the fucking super weapon. I know the Time Lords want it. I'm sure the Daleks would love it. No, I'm getting rid of that. And he meets a fellow Time Lord who's like just there as a soldier, who's lost basically all of her troop to Varga plants. Initially, she seems to be like, she's not pro the war, but she's realising that, you know, she's been conscripted, she has to do her part to try and stop Daleks from destroying the universe. And when she is revived, like, there is definitely a change on her, and her argument is like, well, I've already died at this point. It's fine if I can keep coming back, I know I don't have as much to worry, so I can keep going back to war and fighting the Daleks forever. And that story is fascinating. There's a story called Palindrome, which is just fantastically written. It's about this portal that a scientist opens, and it starts on like day 4. And the Doctor turns up with Bliss, and they're like, Hey, scientist friend, you told us to come yesterday. We made the plan, and he's like, I have no idea who the fuck you are. Later on that day, he dies. He wakes up the next morning, it's the previous day. So we're experiencing the story backwards.
Interesting.
And every time he dies on a day, he wakes up the previous day.
Now, I'm curious, can you listen to the days in the opposite order?
The story's called Palindrome.
Well, that's what I would assume, yeah.
So we get to the end like the 0 day.
Yeah.
And then we're still basically following that same character, but from a different angle. As they encountered themselves going the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So good scientist going one way, bad scientist going the other way. To the point where the bad scientist at one point kills his past future self. In order to push him deliberately to the previous day, knowing that will cause part of what is already happening and to have happened. It, like, to explain it, it's a lot, but it is just a fascinating story of just, like, following the story of this one person who's going backwards and forwards along the same timeline, and seeing that from, like, both sides of this good versus evil self, and what the fuck that's all about. It's, well done to the writers on that one, because I imagine it was a lot to... You'd probably have to sit down with just like a whiteboard and make lots of notes of like, here are all the things that happen on these days in this order. And then just arrows back and forth about where's happening, what and why.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been some really good stuff in there, and love the writing on that. And it was just the thing for my eyes hurt, my brain hurts, I can't really think about much. So I'm just going to put audio dramas on, close my eyes, and if I fall asleep a little bit, that's fine. I can always rewind. But, that's been most of my week. Just lots of Big Finish audio dramas. Nice. And I did restart listening to the Lord of the Rings 1981 BBC drama, which I've talked about on here a bunch of times. Because it's just comfort listening.
Good old comfort listen.
I need a comfort listen, and that was good for that. But yeah, have you listened to anything else?
That's about it for me.
Well then,
time for this.
inside the boardroom of Supremacy Software.
Hi.
Hi.
So, I'm fed up with all these reviewers.
Yeah, can we burn them? Fire them?
We've tried everything.
Intimidating.
We've tried a lot. We've tried intimidating.
Right.
We've tried threatening to pull ad revenue from their sites. Right. We've tried just not sending them review code.
Right.
And they still end up finding ways to write reviews.
Damn it.
Right. And, they're never nice. Why don't they just say the game is perfect?
Yeah.
Give the executives your money.
Right.
So, I got something new I want to try.
Is it the Pinkertons again?
No.
Right.
We got bad press.
Because that seemed sound. That seemed really sound.
We got bad press. I'm hoping that, if we leave it long enough, we can start doing the Pinkertons again. And people forgot we did it last
Those guys
time.
are great.
My strategy is, what if we just don't announce the game in advance? We just go, it's available, it's out now, buy it.
And it's available right now.
Exactly.
I love saying that.
Exactly, right now. World exclusive, it's available right now. Because, then everyone's going to be hyped, going, oh my god, new game.
Yeah. They're not going to have time to have read reviews and carefully considered their position.
Yeah, and there won't be reviews. Because even if the reviewers go, I'll just buy it and play it, by the time that they play it and write their review, everyone will have bought it, because hype.
Yeah, because of hype.
Exactly.
You are a fucking genius.
I know. Also, fire the marketing department. We don't need them. Out now.
Hi, you're one of them non-binary types, right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Well, what books do you not recommend?
Which books do I not recommend?
Not recommend. What would you say? Not recommended.
Well, I mean, obviously I'd start with, the ones from people I don't want to give money to because of bigoted views, a certain wizard author book, maybe.
Can you give us, the name of a book, maybe?
Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, I guess.
Here are the books they don't want you to read. Do you know what I want to see more of?
What do you want to see more of?
Social Justice Warriors.
Social Justice Warriors?
Yeah. Right, Larry.
Right, Larry. How you doing?
We remember last week I said I thought I was coming down with something.
Were you in fact coming down with something?
I was in fact coming down with something, and I am now down with the sickness. Ooh-ah.
Ooh-ah, ooh-ah.
Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. It went from disturbed... Disturbzels.
You were disturbzels.
I was disturbzels. Maybe a hot cider beverage. Ooh-ah. Anyway, how are you doing, mate?
Doing alright, Having a bit of a grumble about a thing.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about the fact that a lot of venues for live theatre, live music, live venues have really limited numbers of amounts of disabled seating available.
Yeah, it feels like it should be the amount of seating available for disabled persons should probably more closely reflect the number of disabled people in society.
Indeed. And to start off with, a lot of disabled people find that you want to go to a concert or something, the disabled seating has vanished basically straight away, because there is so little of it comparatively that it can be really hard to get access to accessible seating at a venue.
And then you get there and it's just like a cordoned off, like a taped off section on the floor that people could just walk into. There's been quite a thing I heard a lot of music gigs in the US.
That's definitely one that comes up. And the other one I was going to come up is and this is a complicated one I don't have a great answer for, but that I think we do need to have a conversation about and work out what the solution to is.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a really highly in-demand concert, a big major stadium concert, and the whole show sold out in under a minute.
Yeah.
You will often find disabled people unable to buy disabled area seating because people who are not disabled have gone, oh shit, all the tickets are sold. I'll check the disabled section. Oh, there's seats available there. I'll buy one of those.
Yeah.
And, the thing that's...
They probably call that a hack or something.
Yeah, it's the shit you've been seeing with, people pretending to be disabled in airports or a great hack for skipping the queues at security.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to find a solution for because, obviously, I am a big advocate of not policing, not requiring evidence at point of access.
Agreed,
or access to accessibility services.
What you really want is people not to be arseholes.
Yeah, and generally speaking, my rule of thumb is I would rather a couple of people might take advantage of accessibility accommodations they don't need, rather than risk someone who needs them being denied them.
So what we need overall then is just more disability space.
This is why I circle around to the answer is more accessibility focused space. Is the number of chances who try and do that wouldn't be such a problem if there was proportionally more disabled access available. Because, worst case scenario, let's say your big concert hasn't sold, is getting close to the day and it hasn't sold out all of the accessible seating.
Yeah.
You could always sell that seating to non-disabled people closer to the date. We've got seating available and the concert's a few days away. We'll have no trouble selling those seating. You can't sell a non-accessible seat to a person who needs an accessible seat.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no real harm in having more accessible space available.
Yeah. Well, the ultimate perfect option is make all of the spaces accessible.
I mean, that would be the ideal, but baby steps. I'm not asking them to leap straight to the solution.
Something to keep in mind for the future, forward planning and all that.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, fancy old mate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good on, mate. Good on. Right, I think I'm going to have another hot lemon drink.
Oh, sounds good.
Nice.
So, Laura,
yes?
you do stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
Where do people find this?
You can find that stuff at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. New stuff that you can see this week. We got the first episode of Abletop going up.
Heck yeah, I'm so excited.
Abletop is a 6-part series that I've been making with Carrie Waterton. Talking about board game and tabletop accessibility.
Did you nearly call it Carrie Watermelon?
No.
That's a blue sky handle.
Did not remember that was a blue sky handle. Me and Carrie have put together a series of 6 videos that are an hour long, and each one focuses on vision accessibility or cognitive accessibility or accessibility around the manuals and teach process of of board games. And each of these hour-long videos comes with timestamps so that you can go and look at I just want to learn about this specific thing within the video. And if you would rather read text, we've got full transcripts that are available.
Yay.
Or if you just want a quick reference and don't want to have to take notes while you're listening, we've got little quick points that are the bullet-pointed lists of the important takeaways from the episode. And then if you're I want to hear more about that, you can go find it in the episode. And we got a little series of 6 of these. They're going to be going up every Wednesday at 5 p.m. UK for the next 6 weeks. Go check those out. Me and Carrie have been excitedly, secretly working on this for a while, and we're excited that it's finally happening.
I've heard exciting things about this, and I am excited to listen to it, since it is nice people. Very nice people.
Yeah.
Talking about one of my favourite things.
Yeah, so look, that's the big one. Go check out Abletop. For the next 6 weeks, every Wednesday, you can just check out an hour of discussions about board game accessibility, and we're pretty happy with how it turned out.
Hype.
And if it goes well, maybe we'll find an excuse to keep doing stuff together.
Season 2.
I mean, we wouldn't be opposed to it. Any excuse to work with Carrie. Carrie's lovely to chat with. What about you? Where are you out on the internet?
Patreon.com/StoneToMonkeyRadio. As little as $1 a month will help me keep going and keep me in soup and other nourishing things. I don't have a unified branding, but I do have a link tree. It's linktree.ee/Janiac, JANEIAC. Find all my things there. Laura, that's all from me. So will you sing us out, please, darling?
Until next time, be a stranger.